She always smelled like travel when she came home. A specific blend: cabin air, synthetic leather, and that industrial citrus scent they use in hotel lobbies. But that night, there was something missing. Her suitcase was too light. Her hug too brief. Her eyes didn't land on mine for more than a second. She was in the kitchen when I felt it. Not heard. Not saw. Felt. Like a shift in air pressure. The kettle whistled and she didn't flinch. She poured the water slowly over the tea bag like it mattered, like it was the most important thing in the world. When she asked about my week, her voice was warm, but her body was already turning away. I told her about the promotion I didn't take because it meant moving to Denver, and she didn't even blink. Not even a why not. That's when I looked down at her bag. It was still by the door. Closed. Undisturbed. I reached for it without thinking, really. Just to move it. It didn't weigh right. Don't open that, she said too fast. Then laughed. Just laundry. I smiled too. But something under my skin started crawling. That night she fell asleep before 10, face turned to the wall. I stayed in the living room and watched the garden lights blur into the rain. Something about the stillness of the house felt dishonest. Like the air was pretending to be calm. The next day I tried to shake it. Told myself I was tired. That maybe I missed her too much while she was gone, and it made me see things. But the feeling stuck, quiet and needle-thin. A week later she was packing again. Her mother was having a rough patch. She said it the same way she says we're out of almond milk. I helped her fold things. Packed her vitamins. Slipped a book she liked into the side pocket. She kissed my forehead as she left. Like I was something gentle. Something temporary. When the cab pulled away, I watched the back seat. Her profile was soft, calm. No worry. No urgency. Just distance. Like her body was here, but the rest of her had already moved somewhere else. I almost called out. Almost said, "Are you sure there's nothing you're not telling me?" But I didn't. Because what if she said yes? Her stories never tripped over themselves. That's what made them suspicious. They flowed too well. No falter. No contradiction. Just clean, careful seams, like someone ironing a lie until it looked like truth. I stopped listening to the words. I started listening to the breaths between them. That's how I knew something was wrong before I found the drawing. It was Thursday. Her duffel bag was still by the door. She dropped it there the night before, said her sister's kid had been a handful and her back was killing her from sleeping on the couch. I believed her. Or I wanted to. I wasn't looking for anything. I just wanted to put the bag away. But when I unzipped the side pocket, I felt it. A rough rectangle. Paper. A drawing. A bright orange sun, crooked in the top left corner. 3 stick figures in the middle. A man. A woman. And a child with long lines for arms. All smiling. Above them in thick crayon, "Mommy." My stomach dropped. Not just from the word, but from the way it was written. Children don't write like that. Not in that perfect spacing. Not with that intentional neatness. That's how you write when you're trying to be convincing. When you know someone's going to see it. I didn't say anything that morning. I folded the picture and left it on the kitchen table. No note. No comment. Just the truth face up. She came home late. Still in the blouse she'd left in. Hair down. Eyes tired. When she saw the drawing, she froze for half a breath, not long enough to seem startled, just long enough for me to catch it. "Why did you put this here?" she asked. I kept my voice flat. "Cleaning out your bag." She smiled too quickly. Picked up the drawing and folded it carefully like it meant something. "Kids are strange, huh?" Then she kissed my cheek and disappeared into the bathroom. The shower ran for 40 minutes. I sat on the edge of the couch and listened to the water. A constant hush, like static behind a closed door. I tried to picture her under it, what her face looked like, if she was crying or just rinsing something off. What was that much water supposed to wash away? Later, I found the drawing again. She hadn't thrown it out. She'd moved it into a book of poems she kept by her nightstand. Between pages about longing. The next morning, I told myself to stop. To let it go. That it was just a kid's sketch, like she said. But that wasn't true. What bothered me wasn't the drawing. It was how she folded it. Like it mattered. Like it belonged to her. Like someone gave it to her, not by accident, but by intention. And that night, when she rolled away from me in bed, murmuring that she was tired, I felt it again. That terrible, quiet thing. Desire. Not mine. Hers. But not for me. Lies don't always sound like lies. Sometimes they sound like routine. Like exhaustion. Like a coat flung off too fast and a sigh that's a beat too deep. She walked through the door late again. Hair tousled. Cheeks flushed. Keys clinking louder than usual. "Bus broke down outside Vistro," she said, slipping out of her shoes. Total mess. Her tone was practiced. Not in the way that actors perform. More like how you recite something you've already told yourself in the mirror. I nodded. I asked nothing, because silence tells you more than questions ever can. She showered. Said she was drained. Said work had been chaos. Said she just wanted sleep. While she slept, I sat in the hallway with my laptop on my knees, pulled up the regional transit site, scrolled, clicked through route updates, service logs, archived alerts. Nothing. No breakdowns. No delays. No mention of Vistro. I refreshed the page 20 times. Like maybe the truth was just late, not absent. The next morning, over coffee, I asked, "You remember the driver's name? The one who helped?" I made it sound casual. Lazy conversation over toast. She frowned, blinked. Who remembers bus drivers? But she does. She always remembers names. It's how she makes people feel special. Grocery clerks, my coworkers, the neighbor's cat. She remembered a waiter in Rome from 3 years ago. Said he looked like someone who grew up without sisters. But not this bus driver. She smiled like she'd won something small, then went back to scrolling her phone. Later, I noticed her shoes by the door. Caked in mud, not wet, not fresh, but thick and textured. A type of dirt I knew from my uncle's farm. Dry but gritty, with flecks of straw. Country mud. There's nothing rural about Vistro. She hadn't walked on city pavement that night. I didn't say a word. I waited. That evening, while she was in the shower again, long, always long, I checked her bag. Not out of impulse. Out of ritual. My hands moved like they were used to this now. Quiet. Careful. Inside the side pouch, nestled beneath some folded receipts, was a toothbrush. Not hers. Not a travel one. A child's. Blue handle. Worn bristles. A peeling cartoon bear with one ear half scraped off. I held it between my fingers for too long. I felt the curve of the plastic, the way it bent slightly where a small hand had gripped it. I put it back. Not because I believed her, but because I didn't know what question to ask. How do you say, "Who does this belong to?" without sounding like you already know? That night, she curled beside me, her breathing soft, measured. I watched the ceiling and thought about all the ways a lie can sound like love. The stories still made sense, but I'd stopped listening to them. Now I was listening to everything in between. I stopped waiting for truth to knock. It never does. It seeps in, through sideways glances, through too quick denials, through packed bags that don't make the right sound when you move them. She said she needed more time away. "Just a week or two," she murmured, folding sweaters like she was wrapping secrets. Her mother was getting worse. She barely slept anymore. "The treatments are exhausting." I offered to go with her, my voice careful, gentle, almost afraid to push. She flinched. Not visibly, just a fraction, the kind only someone who studied someone too long would see. "No," she said too quickly, then added softly, "She wouldn't want you to see her like that." I nodded. I rubbed her back like a husband, like a fool. But something inside me turned cold and clear. So I adapted. I stopped asking where she was going, and started watching where she wasn't. 2 days before her trip, I came home early. She didn't hear me. She was packing not just clothes, smoothing fabric like it mattered. No books, no medications, no toiletries, soft clothes, not for hospitals, for comfort, for staying. I stood in the hallway and watched her zip the bag shut with surgical precision. No mess, no rush, like she'd done it before, like this was routine now. She left on a Thursday. I waited until Sunday. Then I drove. Her hometown wasn't far. 2 hours, give or take. I brought flowers. Grocery store flowers, the kind with slightly bruised petals and plastic stems. The kind you buy on instinct, not occasion. I knocked at the address she gave me. No answer. No cars. The windows stared back at me like strangers. A neighbor, older, in a robe watering wilting mums, shook her head. "Haven't lived here in years," she said. "Moved after her husband passed. Place has been empty." I thanked her, got back in the car. My hands on the wheel, but I didn't remember starting it. I drove without direction. like my body knew something my mind hadn't caught up to. Then I saw it. Her car, parked on a quiet street beside a pale yellow building with a green awning. A child's scooter leaned on the steps like it lived there. I pulled over, got out, left the flowers on the seat. My legs didn't feel real. Upstairs, second window from the left. A soft curtain swayed. Then it parted. There she was, laughing. Her face turned toward a boy no older than 5 curled in her lap. A man beside her poured wine. They clinked glasses. The kind of toast you make when something feels complete. And behind them on the windowsill a vase. The same flowers. The same store. But not from me. She wasn't taking care of anyone. She wasn't tired. She looked like someone who had never left. She looked home. It wasn't the kiss that broke me. It was how easy it looked. Like second nature. Like muscle memory. Like love that lived in her joints, not her heart, because it didn't need effort anymore. It just happened. I didn't knock. Didn't even cross the street. I stayed behind the hedge, fingers numb from gripping the bouquet too tight. Grocery store flowers again. A habit I hadn't realized was just mine. Through the window, I watched her clear plates from a dinner I never knew was served. She laughed at something the man said, soft and close, like they hid years behind their jokes. He stood, reached to help. His hand found the small of her back. And she let it. No flinch. No pretense. She smiled like it belonged there. And then the boy, maybe 6, maybe 7, ran into frame. Tugged her dress with the kind of familiarity that cuts clean. "Mommy," he said, "can I have pudding now?" "Mommy." She bent down and kissed his head. "Just one," she said. That voice? The one she used when I was sick. When we still shared tea in silence without suspicion. My feet moved without meaning. I stepped back. The hedge scratched my jacket. The flowers dropped, no ceremony, no crunch, just a soft tumble into wet grass. And I ran. But only far enough to stop seeing it. Not far enough to forget. Later that night, I texted her. "How's your mom?" She replied in minutes. "Stable. Long day. I'll call you tomorrow, okay?" So neat. So precise. Like she'd rehearsed it. I sat in the dark, staring at my phone like it was a mouth that wouldn't stop lying. The next morning, she sent a photo. A hospital bed. Pale sheets. And 4-line. A wrinkled hand resting quietly. No face. "Rough night," she wrote. I zoomed in. The hospital bracelet was blank. No name. No date. Just plastic. Just props. And something in me finally cracked, not loudly, not like glass. More like old ice underfoot. A soft shift, a cold give. This wasn't a story I was slowly losing. This was a life I never had. The lie didn't start last night. Or last week. It was older. Deeper. It had a backstory. A setting. A cast. It had a child who didn't flinch when he said mommy. And a man who touched her like he'd built the house she now called home. The lie had roots. And I had been watering them. I stopped checking the time. Stopped pretending it mattered whether it was morning or night, Thursday or Tuesday. Days lost their edges. I moved through them like fog, not walking, just shifting. My thoughts played on repeat. Same window. Same scene. Same kiss. I couldn't unsee it. Couldn't scrub it from my memory. It just lived there now like mildew spreading in the corners. I didn't confront her. I didn't drive back. I didn't call. I went home, unlocked our front door like it still meant something, and sat in the kitchen. The bowl of oranges caught my eye. She always refilled it even when we didn't eat them. Said it made the house look awake. But they were rotting now. Softening. Collapsing into themselves. One had a bruise the size of a thumbprint. Another leaked clear liquid onto the counter. I touched one. My finger sank into it. And I thought, this is me. She called that evening. I let it ring. Watched her name glow on the screen, then vanish. Then again. This time I answered. Her voice was soft. Sweet. Performed. Just wanted to hear your voice, she said. I couldn't speak at first. My throat worked, but nothing came out. Are you okay? She asked. So gently. Like she was worried. Like she hadn't just carved me open. I missed you, I said. And that was the truth. But I didn't know who I missed. The woman I watched through the window? Or the ghost I'd married? After the call, I walked to the drawer she always kept locked. I'd never tried the key I found in her coat lining. I didn't even know why I kept it. Until now. It clicked easily. The lock surrendered. Inside, papers. Forms. Letters. Government envelopes. Folded too cleanly. Tax records. Application summaries. Child benefits. His name. Her signature. My last name. The boy, the one who called her mommy, wasn't just part of her other life. He was part of mine. Legally. On record. A ghost child stitched into my name without my breath or blessing. I laughed, but it came out wrong. Too loud. Too broken. Then I cried. Not loud. Not shaking. Just wet cheeks. A caved-in chest. The kind of cry that doesn't ask for help, just releases pressure so you don't explode. That night, I opened my phone. Typed out a message. Something long. Something raw. I deleted it. Wrote another. Deleted that too. Instead, I stood up. Walked to the hallway. Took every framed photo of us off the wall. One by one. No smashing. No yelling. I turned them all around. Faced them into the plaster. Let them live in silence. Like I had. This wasn't heartbreak. This was burial. And she didn't even send flowers. I didn't want revenge. Not the dramatic kind. Not screaming in the rain or throwing plates. I wanted clarity. Even if it scraped every last bit of skin from the truth. Even if it raised what little was left standing. Especially if it did. She came home 2 days later. Let herself in like nothing had changed. Same key sound. Same hum under her breath. Same way she kicked off her shoes and sighed like she was finally safe. But something in her smile was delayed. Half a beat too slow, like a cue missed in a bad play. "Miss me?" she asked, placing her bag by the door. I didn't speak. I just walked to the table, picked up the stack of documents, and slid them across the surface. Her signature, the child benefit filings, the fabricated address ours. A copy of the birth certificate with my last name printed beside a boy I had never met. She didn't flinch, didn't gasp, just shifted, from soft to still, like a curtain falling. "So," she whispered, pulling out the chair across from me. "You went looking. You made me," I said. My voice cracked somewhere in the middle, not from weakness, from disbelief. She sat, crossed her legs, folded her hands like we were back in therapy. "I was going to tell you eventually." My chest burned. I leaned forward, quiet, sharp. "Was that before or after your son learned how to write my name?" That landed, not like a punch, like a slow exhale, a blink too long. Her fingers tensed, just enough. "You were never supposed to be involved," she said. You were my safe." That word. Again. That weapon disguised as a compliment. I stood, backed away from the table like it might bite. "I was your lie," I said. A soft place to land. A name to borrow. She looked up at me, eyes glossy, but not broken. "I still love you." And maybe she did. But love like that doesn't keep you warm. Keeps you still. Stuck. Decorated in a frame. That's when I felt it. Not anger. Not grief. Just a cold, quiet stillness inside. Like a drawer finally shutting. "I believe you," I said. And it was true. But I don't think that's the kind of love I need anymore. I turned. Walked toward the door. No slammed drawers. No parting shots. Just the soft hush of my footsteps over the hardwood we picked out together. I didn't leave a note. Didn't take the photos. Didn't say goodbye. Sometimes the final goodbye is the silence that follows the last door you don't bother closing. You imagine betrayal as a detonation. Shattering glass. Raised voices. The kind of moment you never forget because it's so loud, so final. But that's not what it is. It's fog. Soft. Creeping. It blurs the edges of everything you thought you knew, until even your own memories feel like strangers. I didn't reply to her messages. Didn't block her either. I let them stack in silence, each one a little digital ghost, tapping at a locked door. "Are you okay? Can we talk? Please don't disappear on me." They came at all hours, but I never opened them. Instead, I drove back, not to confront her. I didn't want a scene. I wanted confirmation, to know I wasn't the one distorting the truth, to see, with my own eyes, how easily she wore someone else's life. I parked 3 houses down from the yellow building. The same scooter sat on the porch, this handlebar crooked. That green awning fluttered gently in the spring wind, like a flag marking territory I no longer belonged to. I waited. Mid-afternoon, the door opened. There she was. No hat, no sunglasses, no hesitation. The boy held her hand. She knelt to zip his coat, kissed his forehead like it was a ritual. A man followed them out, the same one. Groceries in his arms. Comfortable. Familiar. They walked together. Not rushed. Not secretive. They looked like something whole. I followed, slowly. Far enough not to be noticed. Close enough not to blink. They stopped at a corner store. I watched her pick out cereal. Gently say no to candy. Then laugh and say yes. The boy beamed. She looked full there. Not divided. Not performing. She looked home. Back in my house, no, our house, though the word had lost its weight. I opened the drawer again. The one she thought I'd never touch. I moved past the documents. The receipts. And there it was. A photo. Newer than the others. Hidden beneath the clutter. Her. The man. The boy. A living room draped in Christmas lights. She wore the navy sweater I'd given her last year. The one I never saw her wear again. That night, I sat on the couch where we used to talk about our future and finally opened her most recent message. I didn't write a paragraph, or a question, or an accusation. Just one line. I saw everything. You don't have to pretend anymore. 3 days passed. Silence stretched so far I thought it might last forever. Then her reply came. I never lied about needing you. I just needed him too. And that's when I understood. This wasn't a betrayal of choice. It was the creation of a life with no intention to merge the halves. She loved both of us, but she only lived with one. Some endings shatter like glass, loud, sudden, sharp enough to leave you bleeding. Others, they evaporate. They dissolve into the walls, settle into the carpets. They don't break, they lock themselves in, and you realize you've been on the outside for a long time. I didn't answer her message. Not because I wanted her to wonder, but because I didn't have anything left to offer. Not words. Not warmth. Not even anger. Instead, I packed. Deliberate. Controlled. Drawer by drawer. Shelf by shelf. Like I'm building a life one object at a time. Her scarves still smelled like her. Lavender and something else. Rain, maybe? The kind of scent that used to make a room feel lived in. Now it just made the air feel haunted. Her favorite mug sat on the counter. The chipped one I wasn't allowed to replace. I didn't throw it away. I just left it there. She came back once. Unannounced. Like she hadn't already slipped out of the narrative. I heard the key. Heard the door. But I didn't get up. She called my name. Then again, softer, as if the house might answer. She walked slowly, like she didn't belong. Like a stranger retracing someone else's memories. When she finally stood behind me, I didn't need to turn to feel it, the way the room changed temperature. I didn't want to hurt you, she said. I turned. Met her eyes. She didn't cry. She didn't shake. She just looked tired. Like someone finishing a story she never meant to write. You didn't want to, I said. But you did. Repeatedly. She looked at the floor. I was surviving. So was I replied. Only I didn't ask 2 people to build my shelter. She stepped closer. Just enough for her perfume to reach me. The same one she wore the night we met. Can we at least talk about how we got here? She asked. I shook my head. You were never here, I said. You left a version of yourself behind, the one who kissed me goodnight and said she missed me. And I kept feeding it. Watering it. Hoping it would grow into something real. She opened her mouth. Closed it again. Didn't argue. She walked to the door quietly. Placed a small box down. Inside, some photos. A few of my shirts. And an envelope. Thin. Folded. I knew what it was. The drawing. The one with the sun, the 3 stick figures, and the word that gutted me. Mommy. She left without another word. The door closed. I didn't lock it. I didn't open the envelope either. Not then. I just sat there. In the silence. And for the first time in weeks, it didn't feel like absence. It felt earned. It felt like the end of something I could finally stop pretending was still alive. I thought healing would feel like triumph. Like slamming a door. Like shouting something final from the top of my lungs. But it doesn't. It feels like standing at the edge of something you'll never fully understand and choosing not to step back in. I didn't change the locks. Didn't burn her things or delete her photos or block her name. I just stopped waiting. For answers. For remorse. For meaning. The last thing she said, I needed you both, used to replay like a riddle I was supposed to solve. I'd lie awake, turning the words over like puzzle pieces that never quite fit. Now it's just a sentence. Not mine to carry anymore. I started walking in the mornings. Down by the river before the city fully wakes. The fog used to make me anxious, like the world was hiding something from me. Now I let it settle around me. Let it blur the lines. I don't need everything to be clear. One morning I opened the envelope. The drawing. But it wasn't the original. It was redrawn. Careful, but a little clumsier. The kind of care you take when you're trying to fix something you already broke. 3 figures again. But this time, the man stood apart. Not holding hands. Not in the center. The woman held the boy's hand. They smiled. And the man, me, smiled from a distance. At the bottom, in crooked, careful letters. Thank you. I didn't cry. Didn't rage. I just stared. Not because I needed an apology, but because something inside me clicked into place. I hadn't been forgotten. I had been included, just not in the way I believed. I had been part of something. A bridge. A safe place. A name borrowed, then released. And that was enough. That was finally enough. I framed the drawing. Hung it in the hallway. Not as a scar, but as proof. Proof I loved fully even when I was being edited out. She chose her life. And now so do I. No more waiting rooms. No more shadows. No more roles I wasn't meant to play. Just air. And mornings. And the kind of quiet that doesn't scream for attention but stands tall anyway. The kind of strength you don't see. You just feel.